Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Accessibility Byte. Today we're diving into accessibility checkers, a simple yet essential tool to ensure your content is accessible to all users, including those who use assistive technologies. By the end of this session, you'll know what accessibility checkers are and why they matter, how to use the accessibility checkers in Microsoft Tools and Canvas, and what accessibility checkers can and can't do for your content. Let's get started. So what are accessibility checkers? Accessibility checkers are built-in tools that scan your content for common accessibility issues and suggest fixes. They help identify things like missing alt text for images, improper table structure, and low color contrast. Why do accessibility checkers matter? Accessibility checkers support inclusivity because students and colleagues using screen readers rely on well-structured, accessible content. Compliance, because tools like this help us move closer to meeting Title II and WCAG standards. And efficiency, because checkers allow you to catch and fix many issues before they impact users. Though accessibility checkers are a great first step, they don't catch everything. For example, accessibility checkers won't tell you if your headings are well sequenced or if your content is logically chunked. Also, they don't determine whether your alt text is meaningful or useful. It only checks if it exists. This means that accessibility checkers are a great first step, but they are not the whole story. Don't worry though, we'll cover additional strategies to meet WCAG standards in upcoming Bytes. We've explored what accessibility checkers are and why they are essential for creating inclusive content. Now let's see them in action. In the following demonstrations, we'll go through how to use accessibility checkers to identify common issues in tools like Word and Canvas. Are you ready to take these principles from theory to practice and make accessibility a natural part of your process? Me too. Let's go. Welcome to our Accessibility Bytes workshop demonstration on accessibility checkers. Today, I'm going to be demonstrating how to use the accessibility checker in both Microsoft Word and Canvas. Let's start with this Word document that I created to advertise today's workshop. The first thing I want to do is set up my workflow. Whether I'm creating a new Word document or reviewing an existing one, I do two things before I begin. First, I open the navigation pane. I do this by clicking on the Show Navigation pane button here in the top left. Second, I display the accessibility checker. To do this, click on the Review tab and the Check Accessibility button. Once the accessibility window is displayed, I can see the types of errors that there are and how many of each there are in this specific document. For example, in this document in front of us, I can see that there are 2 errors and 3 warnings. Let's dive a little deeper. Let's first look at the specific errors that are within this document. To do that, I can click on the Errors tab, and I can see that there is 1 missing alt text error and 1 missing table header. To go even more specific, I can click the down arrow and I can see that the error applies to this picture. When I click on it, you will see that the image in the document highlights. Now this is saying that the document is lacking in alt text. To fix this, I can either click on Picture and Alt Text, or I can right-click and click on Format Picture. Both options will take me to the Format Picture window where the alt text description box is at the bottom. Here I will put in a quick description of my image and close the Format Picture window. When I do that, you'll notice that the error does not automatically correct. I have to click the Recheck button to see that it actually does notice that the error has been corrected. Next on our list is a missing table header. Now there are multiple things with this table, so what I'm going to do is actually review my warnings before I actually look at the header of this table. And I do see that there is a merged or split cells error in this table. So I'm going to fix both of these at the same time. Tables inside of Word are not allowed to have merged cells, which means this one column and then the next row has 3 columns doesn't work for accessibility purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete the top row by deleting the row. I'm now going to insert a row above so that, oops, accidentally did below. Let's do above. Insert above. And then I'm going to use this as my header row where I'm going to put in the titles of each heading. So this is date, this is time, and this is Zoom. Seeing that there is some text coloring differences, I'm just going to quickly fix that. And that is going to fix the cell merge error. We still need to give this table a header row. What that does is it allows the screen reader, when it's reading information below, it will say things like date, Thursday, January 23rd, time, 1 to 2 p.m., etc. So it's super important to have a header row and, when appropriate, a header column. We're going to do that by selecting the table, coming up to the Table tab, and going to Quick Format. And because our titles are inside the header row, we're going to click Header Row. And now when we recheck, it should fix 2 errors. Let's find out. It sure did. Our error about the merge cell and our error about the header row are both resolved. We still have 2 more errors. Both those errors are around contrast. So let's click the down arrow and find out where these errors occur. Let's click on this first error where it says highlight color contrast. So when we look at this, you'll see this purple, and it might be really hard to read. If I zoom in, you might be able to see the word color contrast in black under this purple highlight. This color contrast is really hard for a lot of people to read, and so it is flagged for color contrast. So what I'm going to do is highlight and change the highlight color to no color, which is the recommended way of doing this. If you have content that you would really like to highlight, it is recommended that you use simple, common ways of highlighting like bold, italicize. We stay away from underlining because underlining usually refers to a link. So therefore, bold and occasionally italicize to emphasize content. Let's see if we recheck if that error goes away now. It sure does, and now we're down to only 1 contrast error. When we click on it, you'll see that it is this Zoom link down here. And so what we're going to do is, even though it's not a highlight, it is a font color that is hard to read when there is a white background. So we're going to highlight it, and we're going to choose a color similar to the colors that we're using within the document. Let's see if that's dark enough to pass the contrast checker. It really is. Awesome. We've resolved all of our errors that the accessibility checker indicated. I do want to highlight really quick that the accessibility checker, again, is a great first step. It does not recognize every error in regards to best practices when it comes to accessibility. For example, we would never actually write out the URL. We would use a descriptive link, which we'll be talking about later in the Bytes series. We also would never type the numbers here like this. Rather, we would use the list up here on the rich text editor. And when we do that, it actually makes it easier for a screen reader to know that this is a list and helps the user identify each bullet or number within the list one at a time. Lastly, the accessibility checker in this specific document did not recognize that the heading styles are out of order. We can see that this is a heading style 1, this title, which every document should have one heading style 1. This helps a person quickly navigate throughout the document. And we should use heading styles in order. And when we come here, we will notice that we jumped from a heading style 1 to a heading style 3. The word accessibility checker does not check that. And therefore, it is prudent that we understand accessibility holistically in order to create and remediate documents. Again, a lot of these topics that I'm talking about right now, we are going to be discussing later in our Bytes accessibility program. We're now going to move to using the accessibility checker in Canvas. I have the exact same document with a few minor differences in Canvas here. And in order to use the accessibility checker, we are going to have to edit the document. So we're going to click Edit. And the first thing that I do is kind of scroll up a little bit, and I give myself a little bit wider understanding of the document so that I can see more at a time. I sometimes will also close the side nav bar in order to see more of the screen. The accessibility checker inside of Canvas is here at the bottom. Now, in our last document, we had 5 or 6 errors, and in this document, we have 8. And that's because each accessibility checker is capable of checking for different things. So in Canvas, in order to get started, we're simply going to click the accessibility checker, and it is going to walk us through one issue at a time and help us by telling us how to resolve it. If we don't know how to resolve the issue, we can learn more about the issue by clicking on this question mark and reading the description and clicking on links of resources that even go into deeper detail if necessary. So you will see that after clicking the accessibility checker, I am on issue 1 of 8, which says images should include an alt attribute describing the image content. So you'll also notice something different here than in Word. In Word, we didn't have the option for decorative image. A decorative image is an image that is used for visual appeal only and has no value in regards to content. This is a banner at the top of the page that does not contribute truly to the content of the text, so I am going to mark it as decorative. When I do that, I'm going to click Apply, and it is going to move me immediately to the next issue. Now, when Word did not recognize heading levels were off, Canvas does. So in Canvas, the page title is always heading style 1. In this document, creating accessible Word documents is a heading style 2. An e-learning presentation is a heading style 4. And so we jumped from 2 to 4. And the accessibility checker is saying this is not okay. So we have some options, and they're here in this drop-down. We can leave as is, which will continue to trigger the accessibility checker. We can fix the hierarchy, which means it will turn that heading style 4 into a heading style 3, or we can remove it as a heading style and it will turn it into normal text. I'm going to go ahead and fix the heading hierarchy. You'll notice that it changed the font size a little bit because that is the standard size for a heading style 3. I'm going to click on Apply, and you're going to see that it takes me to the next issue. The next issue is the same that we had before. It's a color contrast issue with that highlighting color. However, you'll notice that in this case, it's asking for text color to change. And because I don't want to change the text color, we could change the text color to white, and that would be white with white text with a blue background, and that would pass. Instead, because it's not recommended to do a lot of highlighting, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next issue, and I'm going to solve that manually here after I get through the rest of our issues. Our next issue is the table should include a caption describing the contents of the table. In Canvas, not only does it need to have a header row, but it needs to have an actual caption, just like an image has alt text describing the contents of the table. So I am going to describe the table here later because I am also going to fix the table issue by deleting the row and adding a row like I did in Word. So we're going to do that manually inside the text editor here in just a minute and then check accessibility again later. Issue 3 is tables should include at least one header row. We know that. We'll fix it here in a minute. Issue 4, heading levels should not be skipped. So we have another skipped heading level. I'm going to go ahead and remove heading style, even though I'm going to delete that later. And here it's again telling us that the text color of this image or of this Zoom link should be darker. So we're going to go ahead and make that darker and hope that the darker blue, I'm going to make it more kind of our blue. And let's see if we can match it a little bit. Oh, you'll notice that I can't even apply if it doesn't match the contrast requirements. So I'm going to go a little darker. Now it says I can. I'm going to hit apply. And it changed the color of that text for me to meet color contrast. Issue 4 is list should be formatted as list. And so it recognized that this is a list. So I'm going to go ahead and format it as a list, and you'll notice that it changed these 2 bullet points instead of just asterisks. You'll also notice that it did not catch this here. So it catches some, but not all. So I'm now going to go fix these other things manually and then come back to the accessibility checker. You'll also notice in Canvas that the accessibility checker actually updates live and doesn't need you to click on it every time you change something. So after I highlight this and I change to no highlight and maybe I bold that text, you'll notice my 3 issues have now went down to 2. I'm going to go ahead and change this because I know it is an issue even though the checker did not. And so I am going to do that quickly. There we go. And now I'm going to come here and I'm actually going to do the exact same thing I did in Word, which is I am going to insert a row here, and I'm going to put date, time, Zoom link, and we have that same color issue, so I'm going to highlight that text and change it to black. I'm going to delete this row, and to delete a row, I'm going to click here, and now with the accessibility checker, I can now add a caption to it, which is date, time, and Zoom information for ability workshop. Okay, I've given that a general information, and now I'm going to tell it that we have a header row, just like I did in Word. Click on apply, And you will see that we have met all the accessibility requirements for this document. They will not take effect until we scroll down and hit save. And that's using the accessibility checker inside of Canvas. I hope you found the demonstrations helpful. Let's wrap up. Accessibility checkers are great tools for identifying and fixing common issues. However, they don't cover all aspects of accessibility, like logical heading flow or meaningful alt text. Let's now move to putting your newfound knowledge to the test. The next time you write an email, create a Word document, or develop a Canvas page, be sure to run the accessibility checker before sending the message or saving the document. Thank you for joining this Accessibility Byte. Remember, accessibility is a journey, and every step you take makes a big impact.